tangentially moving across from one Marvel property to another Marvel property. If you haven't seen the movie Nomadland, go out and see the movie. I currently haven't seen it. I haven't had the time to go watch it. I know it sounds a little hypocritical. Hey, go watch this movie, even though I haven't seen it. It's been nominated for 4 awards at the Golden Globes, including Best Picture, Best Motion Picture Drama, Best Director from Chloe Zhao, a few other nominations as well. But it also stars Frances McDormand, and if you know me, I love pretty much anything Frances McDormand is in, and she always picks like some of the best properties, best stories to be in. 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri was one of my favorite films. That was so good. I love that movie so much. Anyway, Chloe Zhao, writer-director of Nomadland, is currently, I'm pretty sure they finished filming The Eternals, but The Eternals, the Marvel property, going from an indie filmmaking background that Chloe Zhao has to going into a big budget studio film for Marvel of The Eternals is kind of, it's not unheard of. I mean, look at the Russo brothers. Look at what the Russo brothers have done. They were television comedy directors. And then they went on to direct the highest grossing movie of all time. Period. So, not to say that, like a small indie filmmaker can't go on and make an incredible... Same thing with James Gunn. James Gunn was a bizarre indie filmmaker, and then he came to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and did Guardians of the Galaxy and was beloved by everyone, and now everybody knows his name and praises the ground that he walks on, right? Cool. In The Eternals, Salma Hayek kind of leaked a little bit of information regarding the filmmaking style of the movie. And it sounds like, in terms of cinematography, in terms of how the movie is going to look and feel, they're not doing CGI. They're not doing green screen. Well, I'm sure they're going to have to in some regard in this and that and the other, because it's Marvel and it's superheroes and it's outer space. So there is some stuff that they are going to have to do. But for the most part, as Salma Hayek is reporting, or not reporting, but as she leaked to the press, they're filming the vast majority of this stuff on location. You know how groundbreaking it was when we all heard that, when I say we all, I wasn't even born yet, but when George Lucas was filming Star Wars in Tunisia. Star Wars, for the most part, was all filmed in practical locations. Yes, there was, some early CGI happening. Yes, there was a lot of compositing happening, especially with the outer space type stuff. But for the most part, all of the on location type stuff, that was all done on location. They found, so same thing with Dune, same thing with Lord of the Rings. When they filmed Lord of the Rings, they went out and scouted real, actual locations in New Zealand to say, yeah, it's New Zealand, but this is Middle Earth. Just look at how vast and diverse this land is. And it is. And now they're doing the same thing for Eternals. Now, this plays into Chloe Zhao's classic filmmaking style as an indie art house filmmaker. She does a lot of stuff on location as opposed to on set. And being that she's taking her signature filmmaking style into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think is kind of going to be a breath of fresh air, and we're going to see some really interesting stuff from her in a big, major cinematic, kind of way. Shirley, when you hear about something like this, where Marvel gives the creativity license to their individual filmmakers to do and to produce the things that they want to film and produce and make the film the way that they want to make the film, how does this strike you? Do you think that a film like this, with a very different cinematographer behind the lens, to bring a very different feel, do you think that's going to feel congruent with the rest of the MCU? Or do you think that this is gonna kind of go off the rails in terms of visuals a little bit. How does this strike you?
Wow. Um, Again, amazing setup, Mike. You're so good at, yeah, summarizing a lot of things going on. I fall on the side of empower the artist and let them work to their strengths. So I'm all for yeah, Chloe Zhao working in the style, in the manner that she's strongest. uh I think it applies, like, even if we're not all helming gigantic Marvel Universe films, it's true, right? Like, we could probably all look at moments in our own lives where it's like, oh, I stayed true to me and was able to apply it to the task at hand, and I still met the brief. Like, I had to do what was asked of me. So I think, like, there's an ability to marry, like, this is the story to be told and you have to hit these key points, whatever the key points are, visually, plot wise, they've got to be laid out, I would hope. So she's hitting that, she's doing her job, and she's getting to do her job in the way that she knows she's strong. Like, that sounds like win-win to me.
I think right there, that's the thing that disappoints me the most about what went down between Kevin Feige and Edgar Wright, filmmaker Edgar Wright, when he was, because he had been developing the Ant-Man movie ever since the first Iron Man came out, ever since 2008. And so he'd been working on this Ant-Man movie for so long, and, developing it and trying to get it up off the ground. And for them to part ways over creative differences, because Edgar Wright wanted to make a Marvel movie, but Marvel didn't want to make an Edgar Wright movie. Um,
Uh,
and I think that's something that hurts all of our hearts a little bit. Is, yeah, I love the Ant-Man movie directed by Peyton Reed. It's wonderful. It's great. It's really funny and it works. But I
mhm.
really would have loved to see an Edgar Wright Ant-Man movie. Like, that would have been a completely different film. I would have loved to have seen that. Same thing with, talk about this all the time. Lord and Miller, when they were developing the Han Solo movie. First of all, nobody asked for a Han Solo movie in the Star Wars universe. Nobody asked for that. But it's something that we got, and, Kathleen Kennedy greenlit it, whatever. What are you doing if you hire Lord and Miller? You know their style. You know that they're the guys from 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, the Lego movie. That's the kind of
Yeah.
movie that they're going to make when you hire them to do a Star Wars movie, to do a Han Solo movie. That's the movie that I wanted to see. Yeah, I mean, like, when she fired them halfway through production, and then just because, the film isn't working the way that our vision was, why did you hire them in the first place? Okay, yeah, the Ron Howard version, yeah, it's okay, it's not a great movie, bleh, whatever. um I wanted to see the Lord and Miller version of Star Wars, right? I wanted to see the Edgar Wright version of Ant-Man. All this stuff. And we could probably go on and on and on and on about that. But
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, it's like it, it seems like when there are creative differences, but you enter like a really pivotal business relationship in this way, it's not really creative difference because the creative style is already all
yeah,
out there. That part isn't a surprise. So it almost seems like you need a really experienced, like, couples counselor to just help some people with their communication. They're probably arguing, and like, it's frustrating as a creative when they have this, like, sometimes your mind can go to just explode into all of these, the full picture, and you have to, but it's so hard to slow down and bring everyone else along for the ride. And I
yeah,
think any movie production, you're trying to do that for hundreds, thousands, yeah, like thousands of people in all of these different realms, and trying to balance like communicating enough about the vision so that you can move forward with everyone on board, like working together as a team. You have to be a good leader. Um, but not so much that like you're stuck in a loop of just trying to explain a vision that will never make sense until you make it happen. There's some kind of like alchemy and faith. So it seems like they just need a couples counselor when there's this breakdown of trust in each other. It's a partnership.
Oh man, I could not agree more. That's
Yeah.
the most succinct way to put it. And as you previously aforementioned, the waxing of being poetic in that regard, it brings it all to light and just said, yeah, it's hard. It is a hard thing. This is something that Kim, my fiance, and I talk about every now and again. We have this silly series that we've put out on a different YouTube channel called Harwood's House, where it's a 90s sitcom. Every episode is like 5 minutes long. It's a 90s sitcom starring our cat, Harwood, and how he's not our cat. He is a cat, but like he's more of a person. He's a roommate. He's not a pet, right? And so it's just our wacky adventures living with our roommate Harwood, right? And whenever I write the script, I have a very specific idea as to how this is going to go. And in my mind, it just seems, well, yeah, I put it all in the script. Read the script. And then, like, sometimes my thoughts don't translate from my brain to the page to Kim's brain. So when Kim reads it, she reads it in a very different way of because I feel like I'm being explicitly clear. And then we go to film, and she's like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like, how is this going to work? How is this going to translate? And I'm like, trust me, just do it like, say the line like this. And she's like, but that doesn't make sense. I'm like, trust me, it'll work. And then I edit the whole thing together and see, ta-da, and it works. But it's, like you say, it's hard to translate what's happening in your brain to another human being.
We each have a whole universe happening here, and language is just an incomplete tool to, like, it's one of our best tools, but that's why art exists. We're trying to share
Oh man,
the individual experience with the world so that like we can connect our like multiverses. Right?
I want to put. Can I put that quote on a T-shirt? We need a T-shirt that says, "Language is one of our best tools for communication." But it's I can't remember how you phrase. I'll have to go back and rewind the video. But language is one of our best tools for communication, but it's not perfect. That's why art exists.
Yeah. May I have a T-shirt?
Yeah, I will put your name on it. Quote from Shirley Chan at Early Girl.
Finally.
Oh man, that's wonderful. Anyway, guys, question is for you. How do you see Chloe Zhao's a cinematic experience of the Eternals going down? Do you think it's going to be a breath of fresh air? Do you like what Salma Hayek is reporting that she's doing behind the camera in terms of how it's going to look, how it's going to feel? Or would you feel more comfortable in more of like the cinematic storytelling visually that we've already kind of come to know to be associated with the MCU? What are your thoughts? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know what those are. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Pickle Rick would want you to do. Hey Morty, I turned myself into a pickle. I'm Pickle Rick!